Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Hey,
You hit the gym today already or nah?
Nah, not yet. Not yet, man. I've been waiting. I had to wait for a bro to come through. And then as soon as he leaves, man, I'm jetting to the gym, man.
I'm gonna do the same thing. I've been trying to get on my shit. I've been slacking a little bit.
Oh man, I've been the past 2.5 months, I've been pretty consistent. So I'm just trying to stack them all together, man. It really only takes like 6 months of just staying at it. So I'm like 2 months down. Full more.
What made you start taking it seriously 2 months ago?
Really just because just getting older and also because I had already done it. Like from 2020 to going into 2021. Like I had been suffering a bout of insomnia. And so to get back to sleep, I just started going to the gym. And then it just steamrolled into just doing it every day. And then I stopped, like I had some car issues, and then I ended up moving. And then I gained the weight back, and I was just like, man, no, fuck that. Like I want to run it back. I want to do it again. So that was really it. Nothing like really impactful other than I just want to do it.
Yeah. You weren't getting the insomnia back.
Huh?
You weren't getting insomnia again.
Nah, not the same way. Like the insomnia I had when I was doing that, it was like no matter when I went to sleep, whether it was 2 a.m., 3 a.m., like I was waking up at 5 a.m. Like I definitely still struggle with staying up later, but like I can sleep till whenever. But yeah, no, that level of insomnia hasn't kicked back. I blame some of that on COVID and we were all locked up. So it kind of threw off my sleep life. So by the time 2021 hit, it was just weird. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, just really wanted to get back at it. And like I said, I'm getting older and I don't want to, end up with I mean, my roommate at the time, I'd have my shirt off in the crib and he just walked by and he said, bro, you got that middle management body. And I said, bro, what the fuck?
Damn.
That was another motivating factor. Oh, and I was at a show, I was at a Rob Banks show. Robin told me to pull up and the homies were there. It was like me, Key, Tony Snow, Tia Corinne pulled up. So we were all kicking it in the parking lot. And Tony walks up, and I keep saying it was in front of everybody, but no one heard him say this. It was to me, but people were around. And he said, damn, bro, you got to pick a struggle. And I was like, what? And he was like, bro, you short and fat? That's crazy. Like, you got to figure something out. And he just walked right off. Like, it wasn't even a long conversation. And I was like, bro, what the fuck? And so that was another motivating factor.
Damn, that's harsh. I mean, it's harsh, but that's also a real friend thing to say
It
on
was,
some real
it
shit, bro.
definitely wasn't real friend shit to say. So
Yeah.
I took it and I was just like, all right, bet. I'm gonna show this bitch ass motherfucker. You
Yo.
know,
Are you
that's
good? Like, is it hard for you to get motivated to go to the gym or nah? Are you once you're there, you're good?
no, once I'm there, I'm good. There are definitely those moments when like I wake up and I'm like, bro, I do not feel like doing this. But it's just override. It's just muscle memory. It's just like, but I do this every morning. So
Yeah.
once I get into the rhythm, like getting into the rhythm can be difficult. But once I'm in the rhythm, it's just like this is what I do every day. Like it's like smoking weed or whatever. It's just like I do this every day.
You
So
smoke before the gym?
sometimes like I just hit the bong, but not I don't like have a full session.
You smoke a bong?
Yeah, yeah.
No one smokes bongs anymore. I'm a bong smoker, and
Yeah,
people
you should.
always make fun of me because I have hella pieces.
Yeah, man. So that's my goal. Like I want to go, even when I was younger, like 23 and smoking, I'd be like, I'm trying to go all glass. Like I'm not trying to roll up or do none of that. It stretches my weed. The high for me is more impactful. But yeah, I definitely have some people that just like that'll come over and I'll be like, yeah, pack a bone. They're like, well, what? Like I'm
I
about to
love it.
roll a
Shout out
backwood.
Hitman Glass. They're actually the official glass of the Bucked Up podcast, so I should give them a little shout out there. Shout out
Okay, yeah.
Hitman Glass. They're
Yeah, plug
amazing.
me in, man. I need more. I want to have like you said, like you have different bones. Like I want to have like
Yeah.
pieces. Like remember in Pineapple Express when like Dan McBride he had different bongs and he was like, yo, go grab bong mitzvah, bro. Like that's what I want. I want
That
different bongs and shit.
yeah. I almost got kicked out of the gold room in New York City when West Side Gun was having his last album listening party. I pulled up with them, but everyone was smoking inside, so I was like, I'm gonna pull up with the bong. So I
Hmm.
tried to get the bong into the nightclub, but they thought I was sneaking a bottle into the nightclub. And they were like, "Get the fuck, you can't." I was like, "It's a bong, it's not a bottle." So I was like, "All right, I can't be bringing the bong out everywhere."
But no, motherfuckers who do dabs be bringing their rigs places and shit.
That's what I'm saying. The little puff. You do dabs? You got the Puffco or
I
anything?
do dabs, but I'm not like a dabber. Like my boy
Yeah.
Ducko is more of a dab dude, but I'm
Oh,
more
the
so. But
dude,
I,
Duck, who does the rugs and shit.
yeah, yeah,
Ducko
yeah,
McFly. Yeah, he's
yeah,
dope as
man.
hell.
He's a big dab guy, and we'll do dabs together. But I don't really dab on my own like that.
How about edibles?
Yeah, edibles are cool. I just have to, because at least with me, the impact of edibles can be a little different. Like some people just do edibles like how people smoke. Like, oh yeah, I had a couple edibles when I woke up. I'm not that type of guy because that might, depending on the dosage and what it might just take me out for the day. But yeah, no, me and my
Yeah.
dad just had some edibles the other day.
You and your dad, you said?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's what me and my dad. He never. We don't smoke, but we'll do edibles together because he doesn't
Yeah.
smoke.
So my dad and I still smoke together. Sometimes we used to smoke together a lot. But now he's just getting older. His lungs are a little different. So it's easier for us to just do edibles and shit. And he'll do like the tinctures and little liquid shit and shit. But he'll still smoke with me every now and again. Like on my birthday, we smoke when all the homies put up. But for the most part, he's an edible dude now.
That's cool. Going back to the insomnia shit, was that like you said it was COVID, but was it like anxiety based? Like,
I don't think so. I don't know where I've never really struggled with insomnia like that. I've always been a night owl. But the like I literally, if I fell asleep at like 3:30 a.m., I was waking up at 5:15, no matter what. And then I was up. It hasn't resurfaced. I definitely still sometimes have trouble getting to sleep. And for that, like I might take like a sleep aid or something,
yeah.
but never with like the waking up, like no matter what. That hasn't happened again. It didn't feel anxiety based. I didn't delve too much into it, but it's gone now. I'm happy it's not an issue now for sure.
Nah, I feel you. I did a 2,000 milligram challenge the other day, and that shit was fucked. That shit had me
I
out for
bet.
like, yeah, 2,000, and it felt like I was off edibles, you know? I mean, I felt like for the next 2 days, I was just laid out. It was like I was on mushrooms, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know
Like,
that feeling.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a mushroom guy at all?
Yeah, yeah. Fuck for sure. I fuck with all the psychedelics, man.
You ever done DMT?
I have. I have.
You
Only
like,
twice. It was only twice.
what were your experiences with it?
I mean, I don't want to say the same as the other psychedelics, but it was definitely I try to look at all psychs as just like tiers. So it's just like, from shrooms to acid, it was the same feeling. It's just more intense, like
Hmm.
at least for me. So then once I went from like acid up to DMT, it was just like acid on acid, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So but it was cool. It was very chill. Like I know I definitely the first time I threw up for sure as I was coming down. And then the second time, I don't want to say it was chill, but it was a trip. It was a ride. Like I was just in New York with some friends of mine uptown. We ended up just wandering the city. Shit was definitely intense. But I encourage everyone to try psychs all the way up. My next step up is ayahuasca. So that's I gotta tap in with that at some point. That's just a little riskier of a thing. I mean, it's all risky, but like with ayahuasca, it's such a very specific type of risk, and you kind of got to be with someone that's very, very knowledgeable about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely the next step for sure.
Like a shaman or some shit.
Yeah, yeah, like you can't just get ayahuasca for some kid downtown. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Nah. Even with DMT, the first time I did it, I had a shaman do like,
Oh, really?
talk me through it. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, that might have would have helped my first time.
Yeah, he was doing like chants and shit, but it also like what is a shaman other than just like an old dude who did hella
He's an
psychedelics
old
before?
plug.
He's
He's
just
just
the
an older
old
plug.
exactly. He's just the dude. And then they start talking about their conspiracies and shit. Like,
Right? Yeah.
are you a conspiracy guy at all?
I'm not a conspiracy guy, but I would be remiss if I wasn't aware that sure some of this shit is probably conspiratorially true. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
To some degree. To what degree and to where, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But as far as like a lot of people who like they're super into them and picking them apart and watching the TikToks and the documentaries, no. And I definitely am not of the school of thought where anyone's conspiracy theories go as high as they think they do. If there is a conspiracy theory, it's probably way lower tiered than the way most people extrapolate it. And they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, man, they're doing this to their just like they're probably doing something, but it doesn't go that high. But I feel like it would be stupid to say that none of them are true. Like, parents lie to their kids all the time. I'm sure someone higher above me has lied to me about something at some point. But I'm definitely one of those people who just like, yeah, but it's probably not all the way that crazy. Like how the TikTok theorists go, just like, bro,
Yeah.
relax.
We did all believe in Santa Claus. That was a conspiracy we
Yeah,
all
man.
believe and we all got lied to. How'd you find out he wasn't real?
He was never real in my household. He was always a story. It's crazy because interestingly enough, my sister, I want to say in second grade, first or second grade, where we were doing, it's Christmas time and we were doing all the elementary school shit. And uh my sister exposed to her class that Santa Claus wasn't real. And like it was a huge thing. Like parents were calling up to the school. Like other parents were mad at my parents. Like, why does your daughter know that? There were kids in my sister's class crying. Like it was fucking crazy. So it was never a thing in our household. My
Yeah.
parents very much wanted us, like it was a thing, like the story of Santa Claus was a thing. And like, yeah, we did a little cute shit, like leave cookies out and shit. But nah, they were like,
Like
no,
we
we
gave you
bought
the
these.
presents.
We bought
Yeah,
these
we
presents
we
though.
bought these presents. Yeah.
But yeah,
We worked hard for these.
the myth of Santa Claus was definitely a part of my Christmas experience. But him being real, oh fuck no. Like, no, my parents were like, no, mom and dad worked overtime to get you this transformer, this Megatron transformer tank. So you're welcome.
That's so.
Um, but yeah, my sister exposed the conspiracy to her class. And
What music were your parents listening to growing up?
a lot of reggae because I'm Jamaican and a lot of hip hop. Like my dad is a huge hip hop head. My dad introduced me to music and to hip hop specifically. But outside of that, everything just like funk, old soul stuff. Some like light bits of like rock, especially some of the British invasion shit, like the Beatles, the Clash, shit like that. But definitely hip hop. My dad listened to, or was at least aware of all the stuff that I was listening to, and he listened to it as well. I remember listening to the Marshall Mathers LP with him for the first time. I showed him Kanye West. When that album brought, like I took my CD player into his room and we listened to it all the way through. He introduced me to Wu-Tang Clan, Run DMC, Lauryn Hill, Smith and Wesson, Capone and Noriega, the Lost Boys, everything. My dad introduced me to hip hop for sure. Biggie Smalls, all that shit.
Did you ever go to any concerts?
Nah, we weren't really big concert people. Nah, he never took me there. Him and my mom used to go to shows a bunch, but we never went. Like, I don't think I went to my first hip hop show till I was like maybe 18, 19.
Who was it?
I want to say it was NERD and Common. I think it was NERD and Common. They played the Tabernacle. Yeah.
Are you a Common fan?
I was at the time. Yeah. Yeah.
But him and I have fake online beef.
Why?
Because I had a dumb clip go viral about me. Someone dosed me with mushrooms at one of his concerts.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has this thing where he like brings girls up on stage and lap dances them and raps to them and shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I just had a clip talking about me like tripping balls when I didn't mean to, watching Common give a lap dance to a chick. And then I never thought he'd see it. And then I guess he saw it, and I saw him at Sirius XM once, and he was not happy to
He
see
was
me.
not pleased about
He
that
was
shit.
not happy to see me. And I was like, damn, I love Common. Like, my mom used to listen to Common in the house and shit. Like, but yeah,
Yeah,
we
no.
got fake. We got
Definitely at
fake.
that time, I was a much bigger, and Common is still awesome, but at that
Yeah.
time, NERD and Common, which is kind of a weird bill when you think about it. But yeah, no, that was probably, if not my first show, my first memorable one where like I bought tickets and I went with my friends and it was a good time.
Yeah. My dad was a big hip hop head too. That's like when I was 12, he took me to see Wu-Tang Clan. So I guess that's why I
Man, that's
asked. You
crazy.
know what I
That's
mean?
crazy. I
Yeah.
wish my dad was letting me listen to it, but he didn't take me to any shows. I'm sure
That's
he
cool that
like,
he was letting you listen to it.
yeah, man, it's so crazy. I just called him the other day and kind of talked to him and thanked him about that. Just because like he was very intentional with it. Like that's why I ended up taking my CD shit in there and playing Kanye for him because like he would like take me on drives, on Saturday to go run his errands, and he'd be like, "Yo, listen to this," and we would drive around like listening to shit that he liked.
Did he make music?
Nah, he was a journalist. He was a journalist my whole life.
Oh, real? What was he? What was his topics?
So he used to do op-eds, and then he had a couple of different beats when I was growing up. He used to do like local politics, and he covered a lot of transportation stuff when I was younger. And then when he got to the editorial side, he used to do a lot of like movie reviews and television show reviews. So like we used to get pressers a lot, which would be like the network might send an early screening or like the pilot episode of a show that was about to come out, and then my dad will watch it and then review it. So like I was just at his house. I'm about to go to his house in a second, but he still has like the VHS pilot of Sopranos. He has the VHS pilot of Chappelle Show, the pilot and a whole bunch of episodes of Def Poetry Jam, just shit like that. So he used to write, and then we used to go to movies early. They used to give him like the screening tickets. So that's what he did a bulk of my teen, like from like 10 to 16, that's what he was doing. And then he switched over to like op-eds and just writing about whatever he felt was on his mind.
When did you start?
I started rapping when I probably like 13, 14. I was doing poetry first because I found the tapes of Def Poetry Jam that they were sending to him to review. And I was like, oh, that's fucking dope. And so I tried my hand at that, and I did that, I think from like 13 to 14. And then 14, I remember when I was like, man, I want to try this to a beat. And so I got like my first composition notebook and my first rhyme book.
Did you hide it from him or did you tell him?
No, they knew because I was doing like, it was definitely steps. So I was doing the spoken word shit, and then I would ask them to take me to like open mics or like poetry competitions or slams like at coffee houses or little fuck off places. And then it just escalated. And I remember I asked for a computer because I heard about Fruity Loops and I wanted to start making beats. And then my dad was just always aware of my interest in music. So it wasn't anything hidden. Like I remember he got me my first little DJ setup and he got me a computer. So yeah, no, it wasn't anything hidden. I don't think they knew how serious I was about it. But it was definitely something that was, known by both of my parents.
In your head, you knew that this was the path, though.
Yeah. At the time, I was just like, I'm gonna make music. I didn't necessarily know if it would be rapping. Like, I was trying my hand at producing, and I definitely was trying my hand at DJing. But I knew it was gonna be music related. I think rapping was the first thing where I got the positive feedback from my peers were like, when I rap, they were like, "Oh shit, that was dope, bro. Jace can rap, bro. What the fuck?" But like making beats and shit and DJing, making beats was kind of a thing where I didn't know if I was doing it right because no one else around me was doing it. So that's why I just didn't really, I kind of steered away from it. And then DJing was one of those things where it was really difficult and I needed someone to show me, and there wasn't YouTube yet. So I was just like winging it, and I couldn't find like, oh, I didn't have any metric of like, oh, I'm doing it right or I'm doing it wrong. So I just kind of fell off. But rapping, I had people like, the response was very like, bro, this shit hard. Like, you should keep rapping. And so that's kind of what led me to sticking with it the most.
How many years until you felt like you had found your voice?
I want to say probably like 10 years, from like 14 to 24.
That's
Because
across any art form, the 10-year mark is kind of, it's crazy. That's what people say.
Because at first I was emulating stuff. Like at first I'm doing like my best Biggie impression or my best Wayne impression. You know what I'm saying? Or just whatever, especially the other day, it was just like a lot of Wayne and a lot of Eminem. So I was very multisyllabic and just very like aggressive, and it wasn't me per se. And also at the time, I'm fucking 14. Like, you don't really even know who you are yet.
You also have nothing to talk about, really.
Yeah,
like
right?
you
Like, I
haven't
hadn't
lived
been
life.
through
Like,
anything.
yeah.
So I'm just talking about things that I know nothing about and things that I hadn't really been through. And then by the time, like, after dropping out of college, and so yeah, like 24 is when I was really like, oh, this is me. Like, this is who I am, what I represent, what I like to talk about. Even just my voice and my vocal inflection. Like, I stopped trying to sound like Drake or Wayne or Eminem or even Ye to a degree. And I was just like, oh, this is what I sound like when I'm rapping. So yeah, I'd say about 10 years.
Why'd you drop out of college?
Initially it was financial reasons. So my dad stopped working at the paper my sophomore year of college. So at the time, my dad was he was still on the fiscal year of when he worked for the paper, and my dad was technically unemployed. And my mom was just in, really dire financial straits at the time. So no one could really pay for me to be in school. And I couldn't get financial aid because the tax bracket that my dad had last filed his taxes in was in one where we weren't eligible. And my dad didn't have he didn't have a job. So he had money, but not money to foot the bill with the ongoing income for me to be in school anymore. So yeah, after my second semester, when my financial aid ran out, I was out of there.
What were you studying?
I was like business with a concentration in marketing and business administration.
You didn't think you were gonna be doing this? Like in college, like you were going to college to do, like, were you just going to college to like do that, or like?
No, the plan was definitely, I was assuming that I was going to use my degree and get into the workforce and then work my way into music. Like I would be doing my corporate job, but then hustling music on the side from whatever my degree was in, and then I would work from there. That's what I thought.
But that doesn't happen.
It does for some of my friends. It did, not necessarily in making music, but like my homeboys B-Right and Dez, they ended up finishing at Morehouse and then got into their marketing and their music marketing and shit. So you just got to take what comes.
I don't know. How do you feel about the thought of like you can't have a plan B when you're an artist, whatever it is? Like if you're gonna take yourself.
All right, man. 1 second, Sam. Sorry about that. My bad.
All good. No, all good. That shit's important. I don't even remember what we were talking about.
I feel like we were talking about college and shit.
Oh, I was talking about 10 years finding your voice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I definitely, especially after I got out of college, I had more time.
I remember what we were talking about people, no plan Bs.
Oh, yeah.
About no plan Bs.
I don't believe in. I don't want to say I don't believe in it because when I got into it after I dropped out of college, I felt like my plan B had I don't want to say been taken from me, but had been like wiped off the board.
Yeah.
So I kind of felt like I didn't have another choice, like this was the only other thing to do. And my dad had something that he told me even after, I dropped out. And this was something he had kind of iterated to me throughout my life. And it's not something he came up with, but just burn the ships. The Spanish conquistadors that came and invaded Central and South America, their leaders and their generals, to inspire them to fight through the hardships and to look for the gold or find, whatever was there. They would burn the ships, so there was no way home. So it would, put a kind of spirit in the men. It's just like, we got to fight through this because otherwise we're not going to get home to see our country again.
Yeah.
So
How long after college did the group start?
So what? I dropped out 08.
2-9 for people.
And then 2-9 starts in 2009, the end of 2009. So then end of 2009, we all link up. I want to say it was like October or November was cold. And that's when I met Johnny and Dave. And then that's when I started kicking it with Kurt and Key. But then that following, like, we link up, and then that following year, I have to go to New York to work. My mom got me a job because my student loan from that first year of college came through. And I didn't have a deferment yet or anything, so I had to start paying off my loan. So everything's getting started down here.
Now you guys were popping right off the bat.
Yeah, or we're starting to, and it's getting going. And then I ended up being in New York for a year. And so, like, I'm watching, like, from New York, and I'm talking to Fonny and I'm talking to Johnny. Just like, yeah, man, we just did this performance and we just did Indie Fest and we just linked up with DJ Drama and da-da-da-da. And I'm just like, fuck. It was very much kind of reminiscent of, like, what happened with Odd Future, and then Earl was gone. Not the same exact thing. Like, I was older and I was just had to work through some shit, but it was definitely like, dang, my friend group is kind of getting to it and realizing some of our goals and aspirations. And I'm working this 9 to 5 in Nordstrom's and just writing my rhymes on my BlackBerry, going to and from work. But then I only did that for about a year and a half. Yeah, it was like a year and a half because I came back on my 21st birthday.
That must fucking suck, though.
It did, but then also during that time, I was still making mute, like I was still hustling shit up. Like, I had a homeboy who found me, named Alex Chichamaro, who's my dog. He was working with my homeboy first, and he first had played him some records. He's like, I gotta find this kid. Like, this kid's amazing. And he was just on whenever my off days or even after work, he would come and get me from Brooklyn train station right around the corner from his house. And he would get me beats from, like, all these really good producers, at least of the time. And he'd be like, yo, he connected me with Shlomo, who was a big electronic producer and kind of early EDM guy who I got in with. And so I was still felt very immersed in this path. I was just kind of on a bit of a detour away from my peoples.
Yeah.
And then once I came back, 2011, my 21st birthday. Oh no, I'm capping. I visited for a week, and then I got to see everybody. I was like, oh shit, like, it's lit. And then I drove back down Christmas, like right before Christmas with Fonny, or right after Christmas. So then, yeah, 2012 was when I was, like, officially back in Atlanta, but I was 21. And that's when, like, shit just started hitting. Like, I think that next summer, me and Siege dropped Stand True and Kung Fu in Japan. Our Winter in Tokyo. No, yeah, Kung Fu in Japan. And then, yeah, then Forever dropped. Yeah, that's when shit just started going.
That's crazy. So I didn't realize that. So you were working So you're working at Nordstrom's,
Yeah, I was
just
working at
writing your
Nordstrom.
raps in New
And
York. What made that stop?
seeing, so I told my mom, I remember, I'm like, I'm working at Nordstrom's. I'm just living at my grandma's house. And there's my people are just like, bro, we need you here. Like, Siege is just like, it's hard for me to perform as Retro Sushi without you here. You know what I'm saying? It's hard for us to perform as Two-9 pilot music going into Two-9 without you here. So I remember after I made that visit and I saw it, like, I'm like, oh shit. I go back up to New York and I show my mom like shit on Twitter and like shit on YouTube. I'm like, look, this is what my friends are fucking doing. Like, they need me. And she was definitely kind of reluctant, but she was just like, shit, you're grown. Like, you're for real grown now. Like, you're 21. If this is what you think is worthwhile, go for it. And I said, bet. And I quit my job maybe like a month later. I think I gave them a 2 weeks notice 2 weeks after that. And then I drove my 1997 green Nissan Sentra from New York to Atlanta. And I remember I pulled up immediately to Siege's crib, woke him up, and we recorded that day. I think we might have recorded Staying True that day because Key had already done the hook. And Siege never rapped before I rapped. Like, he needed to hear what I did on it first. So I think I recorded it like that day, like maybe like 10, 11 in the morning.
What made your mom believe in you?
I don't know if she believed in me. I think she just
But no, like what happened that made what was the first thing that made your mom be like, oh shit, this is really happening for him?
I think it was a couple of things. Like when we signed our management deal with Big Jeff and Shaka, I think that's when she was like, oh, this is legit. I don't know if she believed in it, but like, this is legit.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely know when she came to see us, I think there was a Leaders of the New Cool show at SOBs. And it was like us, Chance, I think Goldie. It was a bunch of people. And I think she came to that show. And that's when she saw kind of the response around us and like what was going on. I think that's
You said Boldy, like Boldy James?
Yeah.
He's had a crazy career path.
He has. But I think it was a bunch of us. It was like, I know it was Chance. I know it was Boldy. I know it was us. I don't think it was Trinidad. It was a bunch of other people that had. I want to say Audio Push was one of them. Yeah, but it was a bunch of us. But that show was packed out. It was at. I want to say it was at SOBs or maybe Hammerstein. I want to say it was SOBs. Which again, like, my mom was aware of the place it was, and it was fucking packed out. And then it was also, on some of those, like, shows where it's a bunch of people on the bill, like it's more people here for one person than another person. But I would say even at that time, us and Chance were on the same level. If not, we had Chance edged out a little more on the East Coast, especially in a spot like New York. So it was just like, not only was it packed out, but that people were genuinely there to see all of us, but it was a good contingency of people that were like, yeah, fucking Two-9, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And so my mom seeing that, I think that's when she really believed, like, oh, okay. Like, this isn't just a hobby with his friends. Like, people are genuinely invested in what these motherfuckers are doing.
And then you guys went crazy.
Yeah.
And you went crazy. You haven't released a project in a few years though, right?
No, I dropped a project last year. I dropped Eastside Summer last year. And then before that, I dropped Free Jace about 2 years before. But there was a really big gap between Jace tape and Free Jace. And then, I did Eastside Summer last year. And then I'm doing Eastside Summer 2 this summer. So, yeah.
Oh, cool. All right. It's coming out this summer. Yeah. I was wondering because how old are you now?
I'm 34.
You're 34. Do you get like, how do you view music now versus when you were like in your early 20s making it?
In my early 20s making it, it was very, it was a lot more like loosey goosey, you know. It was more so like, yeah, man, I recorded 7 songs and I'm gonna put them out on or SoundCloud or whatever. Now I don't necessarily know if I believe or I like that it's more structured, but I definitely am more structured with it. Like I would want to, have at least some visuals in the can, have an artwork I really like. Where I feel like at 24, it was just like, yeah, whatever, man. Gunner, take the picture, put the parental advisory on it, do whatever, put a weird color grading on it, drop the shit. You know what I'm saying? Which is
Yeah.
definitely an element of it that I miss. But definitely as getting older and just being in the industry a lot longer, it's just not as, I don't want to say carefree, or it's just not as like whatever. It's definitely more intentional now.
The business takes the fun away from it.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
How do you keep how do you keep it being fun when the business
a,
wants to fuck you left and right?
a lot of that, me keeping it fun outside of my own shit, was like me being a writer. That was kind of re-injected a lot of fun into it. Was like writing for other people. That became a avenue where the creativity of it made it, and the creativity outside of myself as an artist, kind of like, oh, I'm cosplaying as so and so today, or I'm writing a record for this movie and they need something like this today. So that definitely reinvigorated as far as the fun aspect for me. It was like becoming a writer and writing sync, or writing for women, or writing for drill artists. That definitely made it like, oh, okay, bet.
Is there shit that you write that you could never talk about? Like, is that a thing?
In detail, yeah, but I feel like I mentioned pretty much everything. There are definitely certain things where I not that I couldn't, but that I wouldn't be too detailed on. But I
Mhm.
would try to write a song or a story, either inject a narrative in a song that is either reflective of exactly what I went through or is touching on what I went through. But
Do you
definitely,
have,
I try
what
to
were you
keep away
saying?
from like specifics.
Yeah, do you have something you're the most proud of some of what you've created?
I would say Two-9. That's the thing I'm most proud of. Just Two-9, like that moment and what it represented and how it springboarded so many other things. And how even today, like I have, dudes come up to me like, yo, bumping all shit in middle school. You know what I'm saying? I definitely have had more, I wanted more for it, but for what it was and what it ended up being, like having that lasting impact and legacy on the landscape of music in Atlanta, especially underground music. It won as a whole, but definitely in Atlanta, which is such a nexus point of popular music. Like that's probably my proudest thing, that I was just me and my friends very dedicatedly but funly just sitting in the room like, bro, we finna take this shit over. And a lot of people don't even have a fraction of that to their city or to their, cultural, landscape at all. So that's the thing I'm most proud of. Outside of that, like as a personal like achievement, I don't know. Like definitely getting the platinum record on the Dreamville shit was like really cool, because that's outside of Two-9 and that's just me on there. And that
Yeah.
was something that I put myself in position of. But everything else, it's just been like,
You're talking
just
about Costa Rica.
yeah, yeah.
How did that come together? What did you mean by you put yourself in
Oh, because I wasn't invited up there. I wasn't a part of the invites. I wasn't like my so Molly, who owns Tree Sounds, or is part of the at the time was part of the operations of Tree Sounds. She either DM'd me or she texted me, and she was like, "Where the fuck were you last night?" And I was like, "I was at the fucking house." Like, one, Tree Sounds is dumb far, and two, I didn't get the invite. But everyone's in town. Like Guap Dad had texted me like, "I'm gonna pull up on you," because he used to always come to our crib tomorrow or before. He was like, "Before I leave." Yeah, just a bunch of people were in town, but I was like, I'm not gonna crash anybody's session, you know. And then my manager, Big Jeff, was like, yo, how was the Dreamville shit last night? And I was like, Big Jeff, I did not get an invite to that. And he was just like, invite, motherfucker, this your city. Like, motherfucker doing shit in your town, you need to pull the fuck up. And I was like, bro, that's unprofessional. I'm not doing that. And then the third strike was my man Deshaun, who's a A&R at Sony. He had hit me up because he was managing Childish Major at the time. And he just hit me. He was like, yo, bro, like, pull up. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. He was like, bro, it's not like they're checking IDs or shit at the door, bro. Like, just pull the fuck up, bro. Like, I got you. I'll let you in through the side. So I just said, fuck it, man. I was just like, I wanted to work. I wanted to create. So I drove my ass up there. And he was right. Like, they literally just let me in. Like, they didn't ask, like, who are you here for? I just said, yo, it's Jace. And they opened the door. Mind you, I know all the people up at Tree Sounds. And that was like, they were, at the time, it was very free roaming, but everyone had their assigned rooms and shit. And I didn't. So I really just had to get in where I fit in. And I remember I found T-Minus who worked with me on Jace tape and who just always been super cool with. And I just camped out in his room for a second. And then people were kind of running into me and finding me. And they're like, yo, come in here and listen to this. And then I just weaseled my way into the A room because Guap Dad was in there and Pyrex, who was a homie at the time, was in there. Boz, who I'd known for at least 5-6 years at that time. So I was like, man, I'll just kick it in here if no one's kicked me out. And then, yeah, that just kind of came from my own willingness to put myself out there. It wasn't like a play where I was invited or someone said, like, we need Jace on this record, and they called me. Like, that was really just...
But you got yourself in the room, but how did the track come together?
Oh, the track came together randomly. I was just sitting in the room. That's how Pyrex was making the beat. I remember when Pyrex started making the beat. I went and got some food. I came back, Pyrex still making the beat. I went back to go check on T-Minus. Then they had cases of Jameson in the A room. So I went back because me and Boss Eve kept telling us to like chill and not open them yet. But Boss was like, bro, just come back. Like, I'm finna open one of the cases. So I go back. Boston already cracked open a bottle, so I'm like, bet. But Guap got the headphones on, so he's right in front of the console, and he's just starting the hook. So I'm like, all right, bet. I can't hear the beat anymore, and I don't know if it sounds good. So I'm just in there talking shit. And then, yeah, then he got done with the hook, and he came, he's like, yo, this shit hard. I don't think he came up to me directly. Like, he was just talking to the room, like, yeah, this shit hard. I'm like, all right, cool. And then they played it through the bigs, and everyone in the room, it was hella people in the room at this point too. And it just like, oh shit, that's crazy. And I'm like, oh yeah, that is crazy. And then I remember being posted up in there and they just looping it. And like, I'm working on my verse. I think Mez is in there now. But I remember the room started getting more packed. Like, it was already people in there, but then people... Yeah. The word started spreading through because Deshaun had even hit me.
And everyone's writing verses.
Yeah, because I think I had left out. And Deshaun was like, yo, get back into the A room. Because I feel like he had seen it like, oh, it was getting percolating. And then I think by the time I came back to the A room with Deshaun and texted me, I think Boz or somebody had laid a verse. And then that's why I was like, oh, shit, I need to tap in. And then more people just kept coming in because it was coming together and it sounded so hard. And then I think maybe I want to say like I was the fourth, because I write really fast, but I kept going in and out of the room because I kept going back to fuck with T-Minus. And when I came back the next time, I was like, oh, no. Like, after Deshaun and Taylor, I was like, I need to do something. But then by this time, it's like 60 motherfuckers in there, right?
There's like 40 verses being laid to the
beat. Eve talks about it on the little doc that they put out. But no bullshit. I'm not playing. It's already like 12 people on that song. But no bullshit. It had like 30 people did 8, because it's just 8. So I want to say like 30 people, 30 different artists did an 8 to that song. So the other thing is, after I'm still one of the first people to put their verse on there, but I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking the record's gonna get scrapped because it's just too much to go through.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like
a fucking DJ K Slay song.
Yeah, it's like, so in my head, I'm like, they're either gonna scrap this record or they're just gonna make sure it's just the hardest Dreamville artist. You know what I'm saying? That's dead ass all I'm thinking. But I'm like, hey man, it was a cool moment. I worked my one. I put a verse down. People loved my verse. Like people like, bro, your verse is so hard. Like, duh, duh, duh. But like I'm just seeing, like it's like a line behind the mic. I'm not joking. Like it's a line behind the mic.
Yo.
So I'm like, man, fuck. You know what I'm saying? But I'm like, cool. I'm like, it's gonna be a cool story. And then I remember, like months later, I remember Eve texting me. He was just like, "What's your information?" And I'm like, "Ah, shit." But I really think.
So you didn't even know that night that you didn't know if you were gonna get picked or
no.
not.
Fuck no, I didn't know that night. Fuck no. But it was funny because it was so many verses on there. Cause I like Ski Mask laid his verse that night. Oh no, I'm capping. Somebody else laid their verse that night. I think Buddy laid his verse that night. I think Ski Mask laid his the next night. But like it was so many verses, but you could tell with certain verses that people were waiting for people's shit to come on.
Yeah.
So like it was just so much to sift through. I'm like, man, they just gonna keep the verses that everyone was waiting on, or the Dreamville artists. But to this day, man, I've never asked them about it and I never plan on it. That's my man's 100 grand. I'm almost positive that Jid and Eve just vouched for me. Like they were just like, yeah, man, keep Jace on there. Cause I don't even know if out of the 30 verses, I was the hardest. I know people liked my verse and I was one of the first people to get on it. But I really feel like it was some homie love. They were just like,
but it also matched the energy.
Oh, for sure. Like it was a great verse. One of my favorite verses. I remember when people were doing like the little reactions on YouTube when it dropped. Like I was definitely one of the verses that was stopped on the most or the most frequently, and it was like But yeah, at the time, like even other verses that got cut were from big artists. You know what I'm saying? Like everyone put their shit down. So you know, in my head, it's just like, yeah, it's a good verse, but when you're looking to try and get the most ears on it, I don't think from a marketing standpoint, everyone in the room was like, well, the Jace verse has gotta stay. No one's gonna listen to Costa Rica if Jace doesn't. So, but I definitely feel like the homies were just like, yo, Jace snap. He was in there for 3 days, because I was there for 3 days, just working on other shit with the homies. And they're like, yeah, man, Jace earned his spot.
That's an inspirational ass story, man. People should take the meaning behind that story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
Go out and get what you're trying to do.
Yeah, sometimes it's just taking advantage of, you know, moments that are put in front of you and trying to capitalize on them as best you can.
And as you said, you did it. You know, it was you.
Yeah, man. Because I was high and tired when they were like, Deshauna hit me, but I was like, man, you love making music. Your homies are in town. Who knows what can happen? A big part of getting a W is just showing up.
Yeah.
I happen to show up.
What did you mean by you wish Two-9 did more than it did?
I just feel like it could have been bigger. You know what I'm saying? Like, it could have been like how Beast Coast was or how Odd Future was for the South. I feel like, you know, it could have been that. It could have been like to where we were celebrating our 5th year doing our festival, or to where we had it, excuse me. Like it just could have been bigger. That's really it. I definitely think for the city, it was exactly what we wanted it to be. But as far as on the scale of national hip hop, national rap, I feel like we left a lot on the table. But you know, as everyone has seen throughout the course of history in hip hop, you know, groups are always difficult, a difficult sell, a difficult thing to keep together. Even me bringing up Odd Future doesn't exist in a group capacity at all. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you know, I feel like they left way less on the table than we did, even in the ways that they've been able to branch out as a group into other forms of media, and just, you know, from clothing to television to shit like that. I definitely feel we had that available to us. You know, shit just didn't pan out that way. But
What do you think happened? Why do you
life,
think it panned out that way?
life, man, life. Like I said, it's just, especially we were young and we're growing up, and there's egos involved, and everyone has a different vision for where they want to take it. The same shit that, and I'm sure Tyler and Earl got the same story, just like, oh man, I wanted to do this. But when you're tethered to a group, it's very much a group thing type of thing.
It's like
And
a
after,
weird, like
huh?
universal sacrifice, a group. Because it's
Yeah,
like you help each other get to the level, but then you all, you can't, it can never stay that way.
yeah.
And it can never stay that way. You're all right. It happens if every group.
And it's just like, Tyler was like, oh yeah, like I love this Odd Future shit, but I want to do some whole more shit. And Earl like, oh, I ain't really trying to do some whole more shit. I just like rapping. You know what I'm saying? And Lefty and Haji like, bro, we over here doing our own shit. And to remain tethered to the group kind of limits your own personal creative growth or wherever you want to take it. And after a certain point of it, it can become resentful, and it's just like, man, I'm sacrificing. Man, they offered me this tour and this brand deal, and I could have done this, but I was staying down for the group, and now, and shit like that. Folks just want to do different shit, man.
Yeah. What do you, because you said you're 34 now.
Mm-hmm.
So you're still young, you know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like what do you see as your next like chapters and levels? Like what do you want to accomplish?
I've accomplished so much of the shit that I wanted to. That now is just looking at it longevity wise, is that I can continue to make money and sustain myself off of making music. So my goal, my lifelong goal, if I could have the career that Spitta has had, I feel like that would be the biggest blessing. Like a career like Spitta, to where you can drop as you please, but still, kind of retain a very, very devoted and core fan base, as well as a very, very, esteemed critical, view. Where
Yeah.
when Spitta drop, you don't really drop no whack shit. He might fuck around
Never.
and drop,
Never he
fuck around and
drop.
drop a project of the year on motherfuckers.
He'll drop a
Um,
project of the year every month.
yeah, for real. That's where I see it. That's where I would want it to go. Personally, outside of that, I want to keep writing for people. I would love to get into the space of writing more sync shit. One of my big goals is writing something for a Disney movie or a DreamWorks film. That's a really big goal for me. But all the other shit I ended up doing with Two-9 or kind of immediately after Two-9, I went on several nationwide tours. Been on, I've sold a bunch of hundreds of thousands of records. I got a couple platinum plaques beneath me, a bunch of golds up under me. Been featured on huge projects and huge albums. I don't know if it's a popular artist in today's landscape that doesn't know about me or that doesn't know of me or that I don't know personally. So yeah, man, I checked a lot of stuff off the list. Now I think it's just about longevity, and as long as I want to keep rapping, that I can. Yeah, man.
That's really dope to hear because I feel like artists can get burned out. You know what I mean? And you have achieved so much, so it's cool that you want to keep going and go down like a currency route. You know what I mean? Because as a fan, that's what I'd want to see. Because some people just hit that and then are like, I'm done with this shit. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And want to go, but it's cool that you still want to keep going. You know what I mean? And like the project last year was amazing, so I'm excited to hear what you got coming this year.
No, I appreciate it, man. And I don't know if I'd ever, even if I maybe ever stopped like releasing music. Like
Hmm.
I'm a rapper, man. Like I've been rapping since I was 13, 14 years old. I rap to myself in the car on the way to the gym. I rap just cooking and walking around the house. I'm always writing. I still write poetry. I'm always writing. So I feel like I would be a lifelong rapper. And a big thing for me is like whether it's people like you or people that still come up to me on the street, is that as long as I still have a active, a active listening or active people who still want to hear some shit from the kid, I'm here. Like I don't have any plans of not doing it.
That's dope. How do you I guess this is how do you feel about Jace? Jace with the exclamation. I don't know how to. Jace is
Jace.
with yeah. Have you all ever met?
Oh no, we've never met. We've exchanged DMs a couple of times, and he shouted me out in I think his first Montreality video. We know of each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, man, he makes a bunch of good music. Yeah, I know Mike Will had texted me about it, and he was like, he used to always be like, man, you should just change your rap name to Jason Harris. And so I remember when Jace first started buzzing, he sent me his shit. He was like, this is all the more reason to change your shit. But
would you ever change your shit?
Nah, I've been Jace.
You're Jace. Yeah, you're Jace. That's why I have to say it like Jace.
Especially because I was here first. Like if we had started popping up maybe at the same time, but I was already some years in, brother. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I always, now he's definitely been transitioning into spelling it the way I did. I always liked that. I also, just from a creative standpoint, liked the weirder spelling. And I always, admired that out of respect for me at the time. He was just like, I'll spell it differently. But now lately he's been like, yeah, fuck that old nigga.
Damn.
I'm Jace.
You can change it to put a question mark.
But it's crazy because this other day I left a comment on Our Generation music post. And I was like, man, could y'all at least put the regular Jace in parentheses? You know what I'm saying? And put it the old way. And then this kid commented, he was like, yeah, because he had said something like, I thought he was thinking that I was the other Jace.
Oh, yeah.
So I responded, and I was like, yeah, wrong Jace, because I've had to do that a lot recently. And then he was like, nah, right, Jace. I'm a big fan. Keep going. And I was like, dang, that's ill, man. I appreciate it. And he DM'd me too. So shout out to him. He was like, no, I know what Jace you are.
That's dope. That's dope.
Shit like that also just bothered me. Like, man, folks will figure it out, man. All right,
there's a gay country singer named Sam Buck. And I'm like, I gotta get more famous than him. I can't. No, nothing wrong with it, but I can't be second Sam Buck to the gay country singer. To the fucking. So that's so funny because when I heard that, I thought of you. And when I heard the other Sam Buck, I thought of you. So you said your project's dropping this summer?
Oh yeah, man. That's the plan. Man.
Cool. I appreciate you doing this. Thank you for taking time out of your day. This was awesome.
Not a problem, man. I appreciate you reaching out, man, for sure.
And cool. Good luck with your dad.
Yeah. Hey,